Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and as you can see, I kind of redid my background a little bit. Tell me what your thoughts are on that sucker. But, I'm kind of reaching this point with the Nurgle Pirates project where I need to start building up some demons to be able to summon them in. So right now I have one Lord of Blights, I have 15 Blight Kings. I have the Glotkin, who's up there in front of 2 Plus Stuff by accident, to kind of keep my cat from jumping on that shelf. And beyond that, I kind of did some revisions to my list. That's my goal. So if you don't know, like I put a video out on the last Deluge update about kind of like what army list I'm thinking of doing, that kind of thing. And so I'm actually going to modify that a little bit to include some Plague Bearers. So that's what we're going to build today. So I'm going to go to the downward cam. Forgive me for the long intro. I always like to just wait a bit until the chat fills up, so I know that stuff's working. So we'll go to the downward cam here. Let my camera adjust to the new light. There we go. Let's see. Build. Okay, it's awesome. So chat's filled up. Oakshan, what's up, Dougie Doug? Hey, how you doing? Guys on your lunch break. Oh yes, I did. So yeah, on my lunch break I went to the store near us and picked up 2 of the cheapest. They had the old packaging boxes, so they were at a major discount. So yeah, went there, grabbed some Plague Bearers. And normally I don't build while I stream because it requires a little bit more focus because I have to read instructions. But honestly, like, this is an old kit. They look very simple. It just looks like torso, arms, plug in the head, you're good to go. I'm just going to basically look at the instructions to make sure I get all the optional parts right. Like, like the icon, standard bearer, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. I'm excited to have a bunch of Nurglings. That's exciting for my little purposes. I'm always putting Nurglings on random places. So, let's get going. We're just going to start... I have a question for the chat, and I know Rerolling One's Jack is here. Hello. So I have 30 here, okay? My question is, should I build for each set of 10, build the leader and the icon bearer and the instrument dude? And the reason I ask is because I'm generally going to take them in one unit of 30, but as they die, I can then resummon them, and then the summoned units would have all the options, right? Because you don't get bonuses for having more than one, but would anyone care if I had like 3 icons and 3 flute players? So let me know how I'm going to build those. But I can at least get started on the first round. It just seems to make more sense to do it that way so that as they're dying, I can take the casualties and use them as summoning, at least in the beginning. Eventually I'll have enough in the future. Let's see. Okay, we're starting number 14. I got a definitely yes from Patrick Starr. Awesome. Let me turn this down just a smidge. Aha. And 47. So, while I'm doing this, y'all tell me what you guys are working on. I'm excited to hear about what everyone's projects are. Like I was saying before, when I first was turning the camera on and was totally rambling, I been working with Jack to change up the list that I was going to make. Originally, it was the Glotkin in there. And I realized, man, if I just dropped the Glotkin, he's so expensive. And he doesn't truly mesh with what I'm trying to do as far as the super aggressive in-your-face attack thing. It's like, he's good to have because he's a good points filler. He's already painted. I love my Glotkin. But I just think I can do better if I'm building towards a tournament list. And so, yeah. That's kind of my thought. So basically we kind of revamped it a little bit and dropped the Glotkin and managed to get a block of 30 Plague Bearers in there instead. I feel better about it because it has like real scenario presence. So let's see, 36. Where's this weapon at? Let's see. You can always buy singles. Yeah, that's a good point. I can't always buy singles. Although, man, the rate at which some people sell demons online is ridiculous. Like the box costs like $30 in person if you buy it brand new. People want like $29 for these super old plague bears that have already been painted. It's like, no, bro. There's no way that they're worth that. Yeah, but they could be used in more than one army. It doesn't matter. So, that's okay. And I explained this in my first video on the pirate project, but I'm not going to do a whole lot. Actually, I'm not going to do any real conversions for these guys. For two reasons. One, convenience. I don't have much green stuff. I have this little pack here that I grabbed today, but that's more for the heroes and stuff like that. I'm waiting on my big Amazon shipment to come in for that. But also because I'm going to use these in 40k as well, and I want them to look pretty neutral. They're going to have the right bases because I mostly play AOS. But they're not going to look super different. What I am going to do, paint-wise, is give them all scurvy. If you guys have never seen late-stage scurvy, like what old-school ship sailors and pirates used to face, basically just your mouth just turns to mush and your teeth fall out and your mouth is all red and bloody. And so the demons I'm building are primarily white with like some purple shadows in them, and then inside their mouths is going to be all rotten to the core and that kind of stuff. So I'm excited about that. I think it's going to look cool. So let's see, basing some blood crushers. I'm going to base coat some blood reavers tonight. Sweet. Paint a sorceress when you get home. Yeah, man. The Cities of Sigmar book has ignited the hobby of many people, including Jack, and that's so awesome to see. That's how you know a book is a slam dunk. It's just when people are like, I want to build this random thing that I never had a reason to build before. What army are we painting today? We're not painting, we're building, my friend. We are building some demons. Because I found room in my list for a whole heckin' bunch of them. Oopa. Oh no. Don't forget the rash with scurvy. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to snack some old school plague bears. Yeah, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that, but that would certainly diversify what they look like. Hello, happy people. Hello, Boss Blackfist. Let's see. I'm kind of lost my spot in the chat here. Eric, I think my first army is going to be Orc War Clan Collection. Just got started in Age of Sigmar. Sweet. Well, welcome, friend. It's a fun hobby. I have a whole lore week on Iron Jaws and Bone Splitters, respectively, because they used to be two different books. If you're new, I'm just kind of clarifying that. So you got plenty of lore videos to jump into, and of course, I'll do more when I get my hands on the book with any kind of updates that they have. Sweet. Working on more Space Marines. Might work on Lord of Contagion in honor of Popper Nurgle tonight. Sweet. I find this rather fitting as I am feeling the effects of Nurgle Blessing. Oh no! Such a bummer. Okay, so we got that. Let's crank out these special characters and then we'll just hammer really quickly through the other ones. That's how I like to do it. I like to get the ones you have to do, and then there's everything else, right? With these kinds of kits, so... let's see, 22. So let me ask this to the chat, just to have a topic to talk about, because I was actually thinking about it on the way home. Someone recently asked me, how come I never seem to do a lot of collaborations with other YouTubers? And so I wanted to ask, what are some of y'all's favorite other Age of Sigmar channels? And then the real reason I ask... it's mainly because, to be honest, I don't watch a lot of other YouTubers who do AOS. I mainly stick to Warhammer Weekly, and that's pretty much the only one I watch very regularly, like that every week I tune in. I also like Blackjack Legacy a lot. And I should clarify, I'm not necessarily talking about Battle Report channels. So yes, Rerolling Ones is pretty sweet. Goobertown Hobby, yeah, someone else said. Doom and Darkness is fantastic. I forgot to mention him. Yes, I do really like his channel. Age of Squidmar. I've never seen that one. I'll check that out. 64, 72, 64. Sick burn on rerolling ones. None intended. I wasn't even thinking of clarifying that I wasn't talking about Battle Report channels. I was more just talking about like commentary. Yeah, the ones I currently listen to, AOS Coach, Doom and Darkness, and Warhammer Weekly. Let me double check and make sure I'm not forgetting anyone, because that was rude of me. I follow a couple painters, but they're not really game specific. That's pretty much it for the commentary thing. Blackjack Legacy is also one that I like. Right? Is that everybody? Yeah. 65. Where are you at? Man, they split the heads on these guys between like every little bit. You should try to do the Goobertown Model Exchange challenge he does. Okay. I will figure out what that is and get curious. His videos have been shared with me before, but I've never actually like really checked out the channel. I've watched like the videos that have specifically been sent to me, but never like just jumped in and started exploring the channel more. The Battlecast. Oh, that's right. Underworlds. Okay, cool. Yeah, I did bump into them when I was doing looking for Underworld stuff more actively, for sure. eBay Miniature Rescue. Okay. Yeah, no, I have a few painting channels. Yeah, I think he's definitely in that kind of realm. Okay, cool. I will check all of these out. I'll rewatch the feed later on. The main thing is, I was thinking about like how come I don't do a lot of stuff, and I was like, well, because I mainly, if I'm honest, I don't particularly care for a lot of content that's out there. I mean, there's more and more content creators every day, which is awesome, and I do encourage them all. It just gets hard when there's stuff like needless crassness and like cussing to the point where it actively gets in the way of what you're trying to say. Like your point could have been made much smarter and more intelligently if you didn't use F word every time. There's that kind of stuff where it's like I'm not a prude. It's just I don't know. I have a limited amount of time to watch stuff, so I want it to matter. Not to mention those channels that get political, absolutely, and that's definitely one of them. One of them being the reasons I mean that I don't follow a channel. I should clarify. For me, it's I don't care about your politics. You got to be positive, encouraging people to get to the hobby. I don't really care for prediction videos. I've had several people randomly. I don't know. It's just this week. It always happens in waves when people ask for stuff. They always ask for it like in waves. Just being like, hey Doug, how come you never do like prediction videos? I was like, I hate prediction videos so much. Never. Not a big fan of tactical talk from people who haven't actually played the army. So for example, I love AOS coaches tactical videos. If you have not watched them, I watched ones for armies I've never played against, just because I find the commentary to be so just enlightening and intelligent. Why does this not want to fit? There we go. Let's see. Hey, for stream. Hello, Raging Jamaican. That's awesome. What mount do you use for your camera? For this one up here, it is a Smatree. Smatree. Sorry, I'm trying to read it upside down. And it's like a clip with a camera mount at the end. And so that way it can basically just point straight downward. And it's just a little crappy webcam. Oakshant, do you mean predictions or the videos where you just discuss what you'd like to see? No, I don't mind people saying what they'd like to see. What I don't particularly care for is like, you have someone be like, I know what's going to come out in the next 6 months. And then they kind of tease you for a while. And either it happens and they feel super good about themselves for getting insider information they shouldn't have had, or it doesn't happen and no one ever talks about it or brings it up. So it's kind of like a weatherman. They can be wrong all the time and no one would ever care. We still go to them for the news. That's what I mean. Talking about what you'd like to see is really cool. Actually, Doom and Darkness does that, I think, extremely well with his thoughts on ogres. I've always appreciated that. I'm just like, this, you know, through hands-on playing, this is what the faction needs. This is where it struggles. Because that's valuable input. There's also channels that rely too much on edgy humor and macho posturing. Isn't that a weird thing? Macho posturing in this such a nerdy hobby. Just seems silly. I hate opinion thrown out as fact. Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of the thing where I really do respect the AOS coach videos, where he gets two experts and he asks questions as someone who doesn't know, and the guests always tend to say, like, I watched the Magakin one recently because obviously, when they were both like, I have found, Blight Kings to do blank, you know what I mean, whether do well, do terrible, and like that to me is super valuable of just someone like, because when you say I have found it, what you're talking about is, in practice, on the tabletop, things have actually happened to give me this opinion. I was just like, yes, 100%. I want more of that. I need to have him on. That's actually a good point. I don't know why I haven't reached out to him yet. I had Michael from Doom and Darkness. He was on a While Reforging podcast, and he's like one of my favorite people. It was so funny when we were emailing each other, because he's like, holy crap, I'm talking to like 2+ Stuff. He's like, are you a real YouTuber? And I was like, holy crap, I'm talking to Doom and Darkness. He's like my favorite person. It was really funny. So we had that moment of gushing. Let's see. There's been some rumblings about the latest rumor engine of the Hammerhead. Some say Guardians, some say Elves, some say Maw tribes. I don't know. What's interesting is we're entering this, and Vince from Warhammer Weekly actually brought it up. We're entering this phase where there's so many sub-games, like between Underworlds and Warcry and Kill, all these different like minor games. Oh, Blackstone Fortress, that's what I was thinking, not Kill Team. where like anything could be from anybody, anywhere. It's just so crazy how many different systems there are now that it could just reasonably be from. Let's do 35. Saw some Kit Bash Nurgle 40k Marines onto Slaves to Darkness models. It was like a Nurgle slave warband. Very cool. That's awesome. I've never heard of that. I've never seen anyone do, with the exception of like the monsters, like I've never seen power armor translated to fantasy well, if that makes sense. Okay, so we need the stick arm. Is Nurgle your favorite god? Yeah, I think so. I think I'm kind of torn. It kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes I'm just like super all about one over another, to be honest with you. Demonic icon. Okay, doesn't matter. There was a short time, because it depends. So like, there are, sometimes I like Tzeentch more, but the thing I like about Tzeentch is kind of this like infiltration of the cities and like that scheming and that plotting and that kind of like traitor in your midst. And if you read City of Secrets, or that's another good one, that's the main one, but also the Battle Tome, it really makes it seem like Tzeentch is like this insidious thing that's like corrupting internally all the cities of Sigmar and that kind of stuff. This is way before the Cities of Sigmar Battle Tome came out. And I love that idea, but they did absolutely nothing to translate that to the tabletop. Like the way they describe some of the units almost make it sound like a Genestealer cult from 40k. Like there's, something happens and there's a huge uprising where all these cultists who don't even know like that their friends and family are part of the cult. Everyone's just been tempted individually. All of a sudden they throw off, their trappings, and all of a sudden everyone is in this huge uprising and the city just flips. And like, I read that in a story. I was like, this is incredible. Absolutely no way to play it on the tabletop. There's no kind of like infiltration thing, nothing like that. So, in terms of, but I'm kind of like, it ebbs and flows, like I said. Like right now I'm all about Nurgle. And part of it is because between him and Khorne, I think they play it on the tabletop best. I think the Slaanesh thing, like revolving all around heroes, is certainly really cool. I'm just not into the models as much. If there was mortals, that might be a different story. But yeah, so I don't know. It rotates, honestly. Asking if something is my favorite is hard because, as everyone who watches this channel knows, I rotate armies pretty quickly, and I'm deeply passionate about whatever is directly in front of me at that exact moment. But not a moment afterwards. When I'm over an army, it's dead to me. Blood for the Blood God, sweet. Yeah, there's things I like about all of them. Slaanesh is the one I've come to like Slaanesh, but it's the one that I typically like the least. And it has more to do with the fact that I just don't feel like GW does a good job of representing all of the different aspects of Slaanesh. Like they talk about like, corruption through eating too much because gluttony becomes their thing, like overindulgence or wanting to be the best warrior. But I just feel like a lot of the model range is just solely revolved around the sexual aspect. And having gamers who are at, we'll say, wildly varying levels of maturity when it comes to that subject get weird. And I don't like that, if I'm being super duper honest. Sorry, I got quiet there. I was just blowing on this dude. All right. Don't king shame. No king shame. But here's the thing. It's not about what the models are depicting. It's about gamers who think that they're edgy by making a situation deeply uncomfortable. That's my problem, right? It's kind of like, if you ever listen to Garage Hammer, the podcast, he talks about how, like, when Deadpool came out, this is years ago when the first Deadpool movie came out, he's like, I love Deadpool. I don't like Deadpool fans. And his explanation was, when you go to like a convention that's like comics and that kind of stuff, you'll see one guy dressed as Deadpool, and he'll try to do something outlandish and crazy to get everyone's attention. And then the other guy will be like, oh yeah, and he'll try to up the stakes. And it becomes this point where it's like, guys, settle down. We're at a convention, have some fun. Whereas, like, I don't want to hear about, I don't know, molestation and physical assault and all this kind of stuff when I'm here trying to play a game. It's like, no, your models represent what they represent. That's cool. But the people running them tend to be very, back that up. Some of the people spoil the whole lot for others. And unfortunately, it does shape my opinion when people get weird. Like in a, like their goal is to just make you uncomfortable. Whereas actually, fun fact, I do have many friends in the BDSM community, and they're the nicest people in the world. And don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. The whole point is about consent. So anyway, that's me hopping off of my high horse. Let's see. Decay. Oh, tiny keyboard. It is the worst. I'm terrible at spelling, just in general, but then also when I'm working on my phone and I have these big old fat fingers and that kind of stuff. Whoa, what conversation did I just jump into? Sorry, buddy. We were talking about Slaanesh. How some gamers, their goal is not to talk about how awesome Slaanesh actually is, but just to make you uncomfortable. I do suppose if you hopped in during my statement about BDSM, that would be really weird. Okay, what guts look the coolest? This guy. I love how many torsos and that kind of stuff this kit gets you. There's always good people in groups and bad people in groups, and that's absolutely true. 110%. No worries, I got my own Slaanesh army. Yeah. It does incredible, like, in the game. I was actually, well, I shouldn't be surprised, but I was surprised when we went to Nova how many Slaanesh armies there were. Not because, like, I question how good it is. It's a super good book, but I was more interested in how quickly, like, from the time of the book's launch, how many armies were able to be, like, ready to go. Because they weren't just, like, super terribly painted. Some of them look fantastic. Like, you'd think if they were, like, a meta chaser, they would, you know, just kind of cobble something together kind of thing. But, like, no, there's just a lot of people who were probably sitting on those armies for a long time, deeply passionate about it, and finally were like, yes, I have rules now, kind of thing. Was more my takeaway. Get your false god hammer putts out of here. I like hammer putts. I like that. I'm gonna have a Stormcast name that. She got into them in first edition because how crazy fast they were. Oh yeah. Yeah, if they got nothing else, they got speed. Let's see here. Gas. I don't know. So like I've seen it. A few other armies have it, but Run and Charge is my absolute #1 favorite ability. Because no matter what your speed, like your movement value is, it just makes you feel so much faster when you can like move and then you get to try again, right? I just love it. It's just my favorite. How many do I need? I need 4 more. Okay, let's take. I hate the bug guys. Never got into the head that literally is just a fly's head. Never got into that. Never understood the appeal though. Like, I like slow and heavy firepower. The appeal of speedy Slaanesh stuff. I tend to be the slow plodding dude myself as well when it comes to strategy. I rather like defend a position and do like a valiant defense than be aggressive and go up there. The problem is I think this game definitely favors the aggressor. Let's see, what are you? I'll take these 2. It's weird. There's not a whole lot of like, I mean, it's an older kit. There's not like a bajillion options. There's a few, but trying to make them not seem like just repeats of each other, even though I really don't like 2 of the heads, is actually kind of hard. It's why Nurgle use Plague Monks. Why do they? I mean, I know that they're good. As there was something said that like as to why they would use that. I like hitting hard. I don't care how fast it goes. Oakshan, what army do you play? I'm curious. I don't remember off the top of my head. From what I can, the old kit has more options. A lot of them are more posable, but I wouldn't say that it has more options necessarily. Like this and the new Blight King kit, which are significantly different in age. The Blight King thing definitely has more dynamic models, but a lot of them are like fixed. So like, you know, these 2 arm options will only ever work with this 1 torso, that kind of thing, where it's a little bit more directing you to build specific things, which is, you know, it has pros and cons, because by doing that they can make some really incredible poses, but the downside being, when you get 20 of them in a blob, they look very, very samey. Blade Monks give you a body so you can be a hammer. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry, I thought you were talking about Run and Charge, because just we were chatting about a little bit ago. I was like, I mean, they can run and charge like anything else in Nurgle next to a tree. Yes. No, you're totally right. I'm an 8th edition baby. Well, welcome. I'm glad you tried it out. Let's see. I just now realized that the insides of these things have like A's and B's to make them match. That is super interesting. Most generic stance, but awesome looking models and huge lines are slaves to darkness. Yeah, yeah, they are in a really cool stance, but they are a lot of copy paste. I will give you that. A goes with A. Cool. I can see Chosen getting squatted. Chosen. That's like the elite Slaves to Darkness dudes. Are those Finecast? Maybe. Maybe, especially if they come out with something really cool for like the Spire Tyrants and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Resin. Okay. Yeah. It'd be kind of a bummer. Wondering what new unannounced model will be thrown at us for AOS before the year's over. I mean, there's a few things from the Ossiarch Bone Reaper line that they have not previewed yet. Like, there's not an official announcement, but we've seen a few pictures that include them. So technically those will be announced. But I don't know. Looks like, I mean, they don't mention stuff and when it's super far out, with the exception of Sisters of Battle. Because that's kind of an ongoing thing. But like the Spire Tyrant they previewed for Warcry, all those things work in AOS as Slaves to Darkness. That's pretty cool. To close up Ironjaws, and I want to get into Ogres. I have some Beastclaw Raiders. Sweet. Yeah, if you want Bungie, you got it, man. Sounds like they're going to be the punchiest of the bunch here pretty soon. I didn't even play Orcs, but I'm bummed they didn't get Endless Spells. I feel like there could have been some really cool ones. Yeah. Excuse me. What I really, really wanted for Ironjaws and Bone Splitters was a literal foot of Gork. I just wanted a giant green foot, and I would think that would be amazing. And who would not want that? I can't think of a single Orc player that would think that was dumb. Did you see the hand someone had at Nova? I did, yeah. It was like up on a plate or something like that kind of thing. It was elevated somehow. Asking Doug in the chat, how can I improve my Salamander's playstyle? Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't do a lot of 40k. I know they just got a new book. But I don't know anything about it, to be honest with you. I don't know any of their new stuff. Stratagems. Excuse me. I don't know. The coughing was getting better, and then all of a sudden I was cleaning the house and it's got some dust in me. The Maniac Weird Knob lost its foot of Gork spell. Oh, bummer. What does he have now? I didn't even look at that. Surprised we haven't seen Bone Reaper Endless spells. I don't know. I'm torn on the Endless spell thing for every single faction. On some level, it's like I love the idea of seeing what they envision effects and abilities to be like for an army. And another time, it's like, but I don't want every faction to have them. I want stuff to be unique. So I don't know. Kind of how I feel about terrain. I want terrain to be a unique thing. But everyone and their mom's getting something. Kind of glad Cities of Sigmar didn't get their own endless spells. Yeah, they got everyone's endless spells, and I love it. From every realm. It's amazing. Khorne has totally not endless, but yeah, exactly. Endless prayers. Hey, Hugh. Yeah, the Weird Knob Shaman, not Maniac, has green puke and brutal power. Brutal power, okay, that's what. Drew, is it better to run Mortals and Demons or stick to one or the other in AOS? Well, that depends on the army. if you're talking Slanesh, Daemons is a smart choice. If you're talking Khorne, there's some arguments for models on each side. Nurgle, I've heard it's pretty much down the middle. Just pick a direction. And Tzeentch, I have no idea. I haven't played Tzeentch in a long time. There's been a new addition and points changes since I was playing him, so. But there's not a flat answer. What army are you playing, Drew? Pardon me, is like the endless spells and terrain releases are just a cash grab. You know, I don't think it's a cash. I mean, to me, when I hear cash grab, I think a limited time product that's not told that's limited time, so you create fake, a demand. People rush to the store because everyone's afraid they might miss out on it. Whereas, the endless stuff, like they've been supporting it. It's ongoing. It stays around. Technically they are not a part, like they're not required. And as much as people can say like, well, they basically are because they're free. Like that's not technically true. I mean, battle line is required. Terrain technically isn't. I don't know. And then when you get to the endless spells, like some armies just never need to buy them. If you're a Nighthaunt player, you don't really have to buy the endless spells. You can totally pass. 110%. What army has the most expensive battle line? Let's see, that would be... I mean, it depends on how you build the army, because if you want to go Gristlegore Flesh Eater Courts, a Zombie Dragon is the most expensive battle line. But if you're talking about a normal thing, and probably... I think Oakshan nailed it with the Beastclaw Raiders. Because they have the pair of dudes riding cows, basically. The real question is, why did you abandon the Great Wa for the Ruinous Powers? Mainly because I wanted to push myself creatively with a new army project. And to do that on the Great Wa would require stripping a bunch of models, redoing bases, basically starting from scratch, less than scratch, because it would take so much time to do all of that backwards work, like undoing things. And then just made more sense to start a new army. Remember how into Bone Splitters Doug was a month or two ago? Remember how into Warcry he was? Hey, I'm still super into Warcry. I just put this in the front of that. There's going to be Warcry battle reports. I'll take the jokes and everything else, but Warcry, no, I'm excited about that one. Yeah, I get roasted by this guy Jack all the time. Welcome to my life. Okay, so we got left arms. And I find it quite amazing that not a single Plague Bearer is right-handed. Doug should put out a prediction video regarding his future armies. I mean, I can tell you. So, like, things that I predict I will do at some point. I'm definitely at some point going to do Seraphon because enough patrons were really, really excited about the idea of that. It kind of came down between these and Seraphon, and then a deal that I had for Seraphon fell through. So unfortunately that wasn't possible. So I know that a lot of people are very excited about the idea of me doing Seraphon. So that's high on the list. I'd love to wait until we saw what the army was like with a new book before I dove into that. But I mean, just for painting, it's definitely kind of my next thing. And what's after that? This isn't like an immediate... I'm not telling you which one's exactly next. I'm just talking in generalities about what's on my What's in my future? What else have I talked about? Oh, maybe at some point a little night haunt thing. What else? I think that's pretty much it. Mainly because the last time I tried night haunt, contrasts weren't out, and it just seemed like miserable work, to be perfectly honest with you. Let's see. Who will you be playing for Beastgrave? I actually just last night finished painting my the Beastman side. I haven't even built the elves one. Yeah, let me think. Sneaky Kari, I do love my Seraphon. Yeah, they are super cool. The painting opportunities there just seem so wild and fun, and I'm excited about it. But I'd have to really nail down what I want to do for basic and that kind of stuff. Doug talking about edgelords. I was a while ago. Try and keep up, man. Come on. If I wanted you to be so far in the past, I might as well just recorded this and threw it up later. Heyo. White Claw meta confirmed. I like it. Do you know what kind of army you'd be looking for as Seraphon? Oh, like how to play? No. Kind of a... Yeah, I know they're pretty diverse. Kind of a holdover from the days where I played... War Machine and Hordes is the fact that I really love it when an army is built around a hero, like a central hero. I just think that's a cool idea. Now, of course, in AOS, it's a massive liability because if that guy dies, everything falls apart. But, yeah, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, so we need to drop 2. Okay, I'll get rid of this one and this one. Okay, there's all my arms. Let's see. War Machine just bought a Protected Menoth army. Oh, cool. Yeah, I've said it before, so I'll make it really brief, but I used to love that game. So stinking much. And then I moved out to the greater Seattle area, which is like the mecca of War Machine. I live 8 miles from the company, Privateer Press. So all their big events are here and all kind of stuff, and I've never seen more negative group of people, and like playing against them is just not fun. I tried for several months when I first moved here, brought up my army with me, and it's just not fun. I like the idea of list based on the Cold One Lance guys and the Pterodon Riders. Yeah, that sounds sweet. Yeah, the only thing is like, I've been told when I was toying with the idea of getting into Seraphon, right before I got these guys, that kind of like a real good way to play them is to lean very heavily into skinks, and that just doesn't interest me. Like going full horde just doesn't interest me. Blurby, you ever seen the in-joke about how Night Haunts Kurdos Ghost Herald that taunt him about not actually being a king? Are Stadler and Waldorf from the Muppets? No, I've never seen that. It's funny. I mean, I know about the ghost that taunt him, but I didn't know about the Muppet thing. Village Idol, love your channel. Oh, thank you so much. Raging Jamaicans, Edge is not a good channel direction. Not if you think that's the only thing that makes you different from other channels. I'll tell you that. You can be a little edgy, but That can't be like your defining feature. Every channel's defining feature should be helping viewers or entertaining them or something like that. That's my opinion. But having a channel just to be edgy and a place to broadcast negativity is not my fave. It is for some folks, though, I will say. Some folks love to have anger stoked and disagree, and that is their prerogative. Good evening. Hope you're having a wonderful night. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I am. Just finished the Realmgate Wars Omnibus. Any recommendations on what to read next? Let's see. Cities of Secrets happens pretty much immediately afterwards. At least that's how it came out in the real world. I've heard good things about Hammer Hall and other stories. I'm not the biggest fan of like short story things, so I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I hear good things. Let's see, what else is there? Good books. If you want to keep going with kind of the main arc, Soul Wars is a great one. Hello, I would like to be a moron and get views. Where do I apply? You don't. You don't want that. Question. I have a Slanesh army and the start of a Nighthaunt army that is Death and Chaos. If I wanted to paint an Order and Destruction army, what would you suggest? Let me ask you a few follow-up questions here, W. Soren. I'd love to help you. Do you want something different from those armies, or do you like something about them? Like, what drew you to those armies? Or what are you looking to do in your next project? Because that kind of depends. Because if you're like, I have the beginnings of a Nighthaunt army and I think they are hot garbage, I'm going to give you a different suggestion than than something else. If you're looking for hobby opportunities, Cities of Sigmar is a win. Like, honestly, like, just seeing the kind of stuff that's coming out just even before the book launches of just people and their inspiration, that kind of stuff. The amount of units that you can take and customize and do that kind of stuff and throw together is actually quite astounding, and I'm very excited about that book. My buddy has an entire squig list, and it's honestly pretty dope. Yes, that was another one. Someone asked like predictions on what I'm going to build. A Squiggleanch. At some point, I don't really have a huge interest in the Troggoths, to be honest with you. But the Squiggleanch calls to me. Basically, any project that Brent from Rerolling Ones has started, I have wanted to steal and do it for myself. That's kind of how it works. We were joking about that just the other day. And it used to be that I would go to him and be like, hey man, are you still building that, and then I just insert literally any army. I had got my Beasts of Chaos slot from him as well. Hey, you still doing those Beasts of Chaos, man? Want to pass them over to Crackhead Doug's way? And he obliged begrudgingly, and so I made it a point to be like, I'm not gonna shop at Brent Mart anymore. I'm gonna leave him alone. He's walking his own path. And I need to leave him alone and respect that. So he's collecting all the projects that I want to do at some point in my life. the Slanesh are inspired by Barbie and the Blonde Bombshell. Are there in Creepy Town? The Night Hound are painted in a comic style. Okay. But I paint mostly, and I have last weekend. Okay. Yeah. So if you're looking for ways to expand painting, really, truly, Cities of Sigmar gives you a lot of different ways to stretch yourself in terms of the model range, as terms of the way that you can model like cities and atmospheres and that kind of thing. That's one that you can wait for the book to come out, and like I'll do a lore series on it pretty quickly, so you can see if that inspires you. But that's a really big one, just because of the sheer range of models. Other Order armies that are cool, Seraphon can be beautiful, depending on how you want to paint them. There's a lot of freedom there. Let's see. Honestly, my brain's kind of having a blank right now on what else there is. Yeah, if painting is your game, Carriage and Overlords can look really cool. Sylvaneth can be beautiful. And then as far as destruction, if you want to do weather effects, Beastclaw Raiders are cool because you can do all kinds of snow and mountain and that kind of stuff. And then Gloomspite Gets would be a really cool one. They would look pretty. So yeah, those are my suggestions if you're a painter. If you're primarily looking for a hobby project, I would say go with those two. Okay, I got those built. You need a hydro flask. I don't know what that is. I don't love the way Gloomspite play. You know, there was a moment when the Gloomspite book came out that I was like, do I want this army? Like, I was really considering it. And the more I'm missing a sprue. The more I looked at him, I just kind of felt like it was right there with my Beast of Chaos, where it's like, I don't understand what this army like does, right? Like, Jack, he was talking about salamanders for 40k. It is a Space Marines chapter. So yeah, I couldn't understand what they do. Like, I'm even looking at the squig stuff, and I'm like, okay, other than just taking a bunch of squigs, which is 100% an excellent reason to do anything, what does the army do effectively to win a game? And I couldn't wrap my head around it, other than just keep throwing bodies at it forever and eternally. And so I was just like, yeah. So it didn't call to me. Let's see. 16. It's highly advanced water bottle. Keeps drinks cold for 24 seconds. Hot drinks. Ooh, cool. I'm not a paid actor. Okay, so I got Plague Ridden. 53. There we go. I'm just doing the same thing over again, cranking out those little heroes, and then going on with everything else. Real people, not actor. Yep. The Great Doug does not require earthly sustenance. He subsists on lore and plastic. Oh, man. Wish that were true. That would cheapen my bills significantly. 63. I hate those Chevy commercials. Have you ever seen... Let me find the name of the channel, and I will give you all the greatest gift ever. Okay. So everyone, I highly suggest, for the sake of making yourself laugh, if you're having a bad day, or just a day in general, go to a YouTube channel called Zebra Corner, Zebra space corner, okay? And he basically, this guy with a horrible New Jersey accent, he does fantastic. He superimposes himself onto the real people commercials from Chevy and all that stuff like that, and it is freaking amazing. It is... Oh yeah, Rapto, yeah, you got it. I love Mac. So I lived in New Jersey till I was 14, 15. And like, it just like, I'm having like, I don't know, flashbacks of his voice because everyone sounded like him. So I don't know, that channel, like I found it through just like random YouTube suggestion, and it just absolutely made my day. And I fell into a pretty hard YouTube bender just watching. I pretty much watched all his content a day. I love the Bush commercials. I haven't seen those ones. All right. I don't know, you guys, building models always takes so much longer than I expect it to. I was like, oh yeah, we'll crank, it's like a really old kit. I'm just doing a bunch, basically, of copies of the same thing over and over again. We'll crank this out in like 45 minutes. I'm over an hour in. Only on, 11? Working on number 11 out of 30. Age of Nagash. Question: what are your thoughts on Tomarkin's Horde? I'm already reviewed the army myself and came to the conclusion that they are not competitive. I just bought the army for Rule of Cool. Well, there's a difference between like the Tomarkin Horde units and the Forge World rules that basically act like a free storm host. Here, I'll show you what I mean here. Forge World. Because I actually really, really like the rules, and it's something that I've been bouncing around in my head. Because I find it to be quite interesting. So if we go here, I'll show you here. Let me get my face out of the way, and then I'll show you. Why is it not working? Okay. Well, whatever. Let's go to the website and show you. Where is it? Up here. Okay. So, if you guys have not seen this, I find this to be super interesting. So, if all the units in your army, I'm just going to clean model flash while I do this, so I apologize for the crappy view in the bottom right corner. If all the models in your army are from the Maggotkin of Nurgle, you can give it the keyword of Tomarkin's Horde. And if you do so, it's just like any kind of storm host thing. You have to take these certain artifacts and you gain special abilities. The ability you gain is pretty amazing. Where I think it's amazing from a board control perspective, not a damage dealing perspective. So if you look at, it is Winds of Corruption. Subtract 1 from run and charge rolls for enemy units. Now keep in mind that does stack with the tree. You don't lose anything. Like I said, it's a storm host type thing, so you don't lose any of your other abilities. So your opponent, and it's just table wide, just a statement of fact. Like, because you showed up with Tomarkin's Horde, your opponent just loses that. And I think that is pretty cool. Conceptually, like I said, I haven't played it, so I can't give you a full rundown. I just think it sounds really cool. The command ability is your general gets Tomarkan Horde, whatever. Pick one friendly Horde hero. You can reroll charge rolls for friendly Tomarkan Horde units while they're wholly within 14 inches. And that's a huge deal. Lots of rerolls going around. Remember, we can run and charge if you end within near a tree. So if you do this ability, you can first of all measure it out because it doesn't have to be used in hero phase. See that you're near a tree, you'll be able to charge. Choose to get rerolls. I love it. And then I think the other big one is for the command trait Unrelenting Conqueror. Add 1 to run rolls for friendly Tomarkan Horde units while they are wholly within 14 inches of this general. That's just a static trait. It's just always up. Doesn't cost a command point. So on the turn where you get your extra 2 inches of movement from the wheel, which of course you can use a spell to get to that part of the wheel, you're doing +3, right? If you choose to run. I think that's pretty darn cool. Now, of course, the artifact is absolute hot garbage. It's just one of those weird, I don't like once per battle things, and I should correct myself. I don't generally like it when people call stuff hot garbage. It just seems strange. It's never mentioned in the book. I don't know. Maybe it is mentioned, but I don't know. The way it translated just doesn't work, where basically once per battle he can barf mortal wounds on enemy units within 12 inches. That's it. And on a 4-up, they take 1 mortal wound. On a 6, they take D3. So it's not crazy. You don't have to be in combat. Like some of the other Nurgle mortal wound abilities make you like have to be within 3 inches or something like that. But yeah. Let's see what y'all think. Am I the only one who saw the Tomarkan Horde model and just had 0 to paint it? No, I want to paint it. So I don't know. I think there's game with those rules. But I will say, if you're gonna go with them, I do believe you have to lean heavy into being a debuff machine for your opponent. Anything that brings their abilities down, particularly their speed. And then you have to be very aggressive, which most of the Nurgle lists I see revolve around big blocks of Plague Bearers. Just kind of sitting on objectives, like 2 or 3 big blocks of Plague Bearers just not dying. And if they don't get to the objective first, they lose on scenario. That's generally what I see. Or 3 Great Unclean Ones, wreck and face, doing what they do. So it would require a lot of getting up into position, that kind of stuff. Oak Shandy just looks so busy. He does look pretty busy. I'll give you that one. I think the mount looks exceedingly better than the rider. The rider doesn't look great to me. Gustad Panzer, hello. Plague Bearers, yes. That is what we are building, and in large quantities. Question, is there a current Warcry warband you think would reskin well as a Nurgle force? The toughness makes Iron Golems an easy choice. None of them scream Nurgle to me yet, if I'm honest with you. I haven't seen one. I want to. I mean, a lot of them can be converted to Nurgle, like in terms of like bits and stuff like that. But I'm reading the Warcry short stories right now. And they get tempted by other stuff. I just never see anything that seems Nurgly. Sorry. Okay, so I'm doing the Icon Bearer now, so I need 19. What would you say about Motrob's army inspired by the Twilight cults in World of Warcraft? I have no idea what that is. I'm so sorry. Twilight cults. That sounds awesome. Just wish Tomerkin was a bit better for points. However, I do love his model. Who does not want a toad dragon? Okay, sorry, I got distracted. I was looking for 19. Here we go. Magic ogres. Okay. Right on. I think it sounds cool. Hopefully the fire belly never goes away. I'd like that. That model's sick looking. Iron Golems would be the closest to Nurgle. See, I thought about that, but then there's also the idea of like the Corvus Cabal picking up dead parts of people and like bringing them home like thematically. I could definitely see like, I don't know, some kind of plague bird thing, just because they already have a lot of rotting corpses around. I think they might be one of the best ones to like summon Nurgle. I think my chat is glitching because the Nurgle and the Nighthaunt joke keeps popping up. Corvus has crows. Yeah, I think that would be a pretty cool one. Is all the crows feasting on the dead corpses, that kind of stuff. So, quick question, kind of broad here, but how would a D&D Terroresque handle in AOS? Do you think it would have a big impact? I don't know what that is. Does anyone else knows? I've never played a game in D&D in my life, or any kind of role-playing game for that matter. My nerddom is weak, as many have been quick to point out to me. Yeah, when I think Iron Golems, I do think corn. That's kind of my only hesitation. Let's see. Raging Jamaican question: would any of you survive a chaos invasion? No, I would not. Nope, not even a little. I guess maybe the only way I would survive is if I could convince, like maybe like the Tzeentch or Slaanesh guys, that I was useful for corrupting others because I have a social media outlet, YouTube videos about like, mysteriously start talking about how we should all join Slaanesh. But in terms of Khorne or Nurgle, I don't know. I could do Nurgle. It depends. If you're talking about straight fighting, no, I don't stand a chance whatsoever. But if you're talking about like joining their side, if that's a possibility of survival, I think I could do Nurgle. I already got the body of a Blake thing. But if you talk about like making a heroic stand and fighting back the forces of chaos, no. Nurgle grosses you out. See, that's the thing. I almost have no gag reflex. I worked in healthcare for too long. I've seen some stuff. I've had darn near every bodily fluid cover me. It's very uncomfortable. I bet Slaanesh would produce great YouTube content. Yeah, I think Nurgle is the one that I would join. And yes, Iron Golems do like to build towers and warbands and that kind of stuff. So, Mike Peterson, what's your stance on third-party models? I do not mind them whatsoever, as long as they clearly represent, like very easily identify what it's trying to represent. So like, another big one was Keepers of Secrets, right? Because for the longest time we didn't have a good looking Keeper of Secrets model. So there's a lot of third party ones out there, and I have no problem with them because nothing else in that range is quite that same size and dimension. So it's pretty easy to tell when someone's like, hey, this is my Keeper of Secrets, like, obviously. Other ones, You know, if they use like a large abundance of third-party models, and you start to have, you know, they're about the same size, base size wise, and it gets kind of hard to tell what unit is what. Like that, I'm not a huge fan of that. The reason I typically don't use third-party models is mainly because I do sometimes game at my local GW store, and so they do not allow third-party models to come in, which is their, you know, it's their business. They can do whatever they want. So that's why I typically don't. I want to be able to go to GW events and stores and that kind of stuff and not have any problems. But like if someone was to ask to play against me, oh yeah, heck yeah. I have a Queen of Ecstasy for Keepers. Yeah, it's a great model. Queen of Ecstasy is great. Let's see. Any words on the Tomb Kings coming to AOS yet? Tomb Kings are gone, but if you're asking about the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, the spiritual successor, we'll call it. I think someone said maybe... I don't know. I've heard October and I've heard November. I don't know. Sometime soon. They don't typically preview stuff that's not coming out fairly soon. I have a full list made of paper cups when I play a game. If you're testing out an army list, I guess that's another caveat that I would add. If you're like, hey Doug, I want to play a game, but before I buy, you know, whatever X, I want to test it out. Do you mind if I do that? Like, oh, that's even better. That's a great reason to proxy something or do a third party, but so Vince has a King of Ecstasy as well as one of his several dozen keepers. Hey man, owning Keepers of Secrets is one of his vices. I love it. Are giving the Plague Bearers eye patches and stuff so they fit in? I might for some, but as I said before in my inspiration video when I started the project, the modeling on the Plague Bearers specifically is going to be kind of minimal because I do want them to work in both 40k and AOS without looking too weird. So they're going to be a little bland, but that's intentional. The bases will match though, so they won't stand out like a sore thumb too harshly. Don't they only have one eye? No, they have all different kinds of heads. But I am going to take a guy that has one eye and give him an eye patch because Nurgle's funny. They do all kinds of wacky stuff. Is it dumb? Yes. Most of the things in this hobby are, and that's why it's glorious. You don't need to see this, need to sneeze exactly. Man, this guy will not stand up. Trying to find some position where he just like stands up enough to like let the arms kind of dry and meld on there, but he does not want to do it. Here we go. Okay. I like minions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They are exactly like minions. I love it. Although Nurglings are kind of closer, I suppose, with the goofiness. Could you make them like drowned corpses? Describe what you mean by drowned corpses. Like their color? I showed a Nurgling on one picture of the other guys, but they're going to be this kind of dead skin white with purple recesses because I just really want to paint something that's purple. It's kind of my jam. Haven't done that in a long time. So yeah, they're going to be like that, and they're going to have some sick, nasty wounds and some grossness coming out of them. and super bright, gross yellow pus things, that kind of thing. Nurglings are definitely the one to play multiple eye patches. Exactly. Despicable Me, I only ever watched the first one. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but the way that it has been adopted by 50-year-old mother meme makers has ruined it for me, if I'm super duper honest with you. where it's just like some random inspirational thing and the minion beneath it, you're like, y'all aren't even, Deborah, you're not even trying. Mom's got a nerd too. Oh yeah. Chris, hey. Let's see. Are these star collecting boxes worth it? $90 is hard to swallow. It depends on the star collecting box and what you want to do. So, which one are you looking at? Most of the time, I can tell you they are generally worth it. Because if you price out the models, separately, the thing is, do you want those models? That's always the question, right? Because if you don't want some of them, the value of the set as a whole goes down. So, I'm personally attacked to the core of my being. Great for adding big armies like me. Sweet. Yeah, and they're not all equal. So, like, for example, if you were to be like, hey, Doug, what's the best deal in Warhammer? The best deal in Warhammer is the Flesh Eater Court Start Collecting Box. Because there's no price tag where that is going to lose value, because every single unit you get in there is gold in that army. And that's awesome. But if you're talking like, hey, I want to get into Skaven in general, Skaven Tide as a whole is, if you don't specifically want Pestilence, that one loses some value, I think. Still a great set of models, still a great deal. But, if you're looking for something bigger than that, obviously that influences the value of the box to you. Please, collaborators, start collecting. Yeah, because it's like half an army in a box, and if you buy two, you got a whole army with their current points and that kind of thing. I'm looking at the Nagash sets. Which do you prefer? Oh, the undead ones. That one is tricky. I will tell you. The Skeleton Horde one is great because you get a powerful model. It's always the hero. But it is a named character, so you can only ever have one of them. And then the other one is the Spectral Ghosts one, right? Okay, help me out, fam, in the chat. Between the two undead ones, I tend to vote the skeleton ones. Because you want skeletons, I think. Between the two units. And the floating ghost thing, and that's really helpful. I'm so sorry. The what's the vehicle called in the Nighthaunt set? That one's a little bit weird, because keyword wise, it doesn't really help you all that much. So I would suggest personally, going with the skeleton one. Mortis Engine, thank you. I could not think of it for the life of me. Like the flying thing, it's like, well, all the frickin' ghosts are flying, and then that doesn't help at all. Skeleton Horde box is the same price as the Mortark, solid point. Like if you were to buy it separately, so everything else is just gravy. Yeah. For me, my favorite way to see Legions played is with zombies, but they have not updated that kit in so long I can't rightly recommend people spend money on it. It's such an old set of models. Blurry, man, you're on fire with your making fun of scandalous Kurdos jokes. Breaking the patriarchy, just like Lady Hollander. Heyo. Okay. Sweet. So that's all the heroes in round in the second one. Nice. Already have a full unit of zombies and skeletons. I mean, if you're already on your way to building an army, I'm not sure that the Star Collecting box is always intended for folks who are super far into their collections. I don't know. Can't believe you built a musician without making any doot-doot sounds. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Doot-doots are optional. What's not optional is building literally any vehicle in 40k and not going that kind of stuff. I saw someone use the corpse cart zombies for a full unit of zombies. They must have been insanely pricey. You know, I'm not sure if I would call the zombies pricey specifically, but in terms of, I think they're a terrible value. By that I mean, like, is the price that bad relative to other prices for units you can buy? Not really. Do I think you get the same value, like model sculpt wise, that you get from other kits at the same price? No. Everyone here seen the Sax Marine? Yes, the Sax Marine is a great little thing. Use my ghostly horn clogged, or does Kurdos' fake crown cover zero that well? B. Oh, okay. Steve, didn't notify you when I was live. That's a bummer. Hey, I'm live, dude. What are you? I think you're an A. Let's see, building stuff is definitely like being a kid again. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate building models. This is the worst. But again, the whole point of this project is to make myself do so much work that I don't ever consider selling the army. Got to keep reminding myself of that. Doug, this is punishment for your many, many sins against all the different factions. For all the times you've gotten viewers' hopes up about an army you're starting, and then dashed them just as quickly. Gotta go to bed for work? Okay, I have a great night, my friend. Oh, let's see. Here we go. I like building because I can't screw it up like I do painting. I don't think you can screw up painting. Don't believe it. Job hopping in and say hi before work. How's your day been, and what cool plans do you have for your demons? Also, there's apparently news as to what Grugny has been up to in the Mortal Realms. Grugny. I mean, what? In Spear of Shadows, he popped up. He was there for a little bit. I'm not sure what exactly you're referring to. I'm not going to do a ton of stuff on the demons. Once they're built, I'm going to do a little bit of green stuff here and there, like eye patches and stuff like that. But I want them to work in 40K without looking too ridiculous. And so they're not going to be super converted. But they will be cool. I will paint them well. Doug, devoted of Nurgle. That's me. Good Lord, I've been coughing like it. Went to the doctor for it, and basically, like, when I was at Nova, so when I came back from Nova, I had absolutely no voice. It was the sickest I've been in many years, and it, like, apparently I was so sick that it, like, super scraped up and irritated my throat, but not in a way that really tends to, like, affect my voice. It's more, I just cough. Like, I've had this dry cough for forever, which is really annoying. I'm sorry about that. You guys bear the brunt of that. Let's see. Gustav, yeah, some of those older kits, like the zombies and that kind of thing, definitely have inconsistencies in the plastic because they've been around for forever. There's lore blurb in Cities of Sigmar talking about how Grugny has left the Forge and is working on a secret project for all his descendants. I think that was mentioned somewhere else as well, and I can't remember where. Like, there was a... I remember generally what it was. It was like... maybe it was in the Forbidden Power book? I don't know. That has the gods chatting with each other, but there was some reason that, like, after Grugny helped with the Stormcast project, he was like, I'm done. My you know, any debts that I owe you, Sigmar, are fully paid. Leave me alone. And he went to go do some other great work. So I feel like that was mentioned, but I'm excited to see what else the blurb says. In the Fire Slayers Battletome. Maybe that's it. I've read all these books. My brain has turned to jello. That's why I don't like being called Lore Master. Because people could quiz me and they're like, I don't know the answer to that question. And like, Doug, you made a 15-minute video about what are you talking about? And it's like, oh, it falls right out of my skull the second I stop the video. Sorry. Maybe I got my source wrong. I just saw it posted. Oh no, I'm sure they talk about it because like the Duardin are a prominent feature in that book. I mean, they're going to make up darn near a third of the units, so I would not be surprised if it did reference them. Doug, you didn't like being called Lore Master and you entered and won the Lore Master challenge. Well, you got me there. I have no comeback for that. It is an absolute fact. I didn't know there was going to be a plaque involved, so that's my only defense. I thought it was just going to be a hashtag thing that was on Twitter, but, you know, there's that. There's only so much knowledge a brain can hold. It's true. It's true. And I feel like for as much as I know about AOS lore, it really competes for brain space with true crime, which is my other fandom that I'm super into. So between those two, it's all just rotted away. It's all just crazy. Would have been a fight if Lore Master Sotek were at the same time. Lore Master Sotek. Is that a channel? Too humble. Girlfriend says we were similar, but I'd be posturing like a boss after winning that. No, it's up on my wall. Like, I love seeing it. It's definitely like a hobby, like accomplishment. I feel super good. And I want to support next year. Not participate, but encourage someone else to win it. But yeah. Let me... I got about a half an hour left in me, so I'm just going to clip off. Let's see if we can finish these guys. Father knows best. What is it? Oh, hello. Hello, hello. A plaque? Did you take it right everywhere? Like rerolling when Jack does with his medal? I haven't really done much since I got it, because I got back from Nova, and then I got super sick for quite a while. And then life's just been kind of hitting us hard. My wife had to go back to Iowa for some family stuff and that kind of thing, so it's just like I haven't had a chance to properly walk around and rub it in everyone's face like Jack does with his medal all the time. But I hope to. Roots Newton Boot. I like that name. Demon Time. Absolutely. Is that 4 and 4? Okay. Now His Majesty Kurdos will deliver a speech of how grateful he is for the beginning of the new reign. Every time I went live, I'd be like, oh, whoops, didn't see my camera turn on, just polishing my plaque. Oh, that's funny. I should definitely do that. Because I know people were asking about the Lore Master thing. I should definitely make a video that just opens up with me just cleaning it. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. One day I'll get sick, one of those super sick looking Warhammer hero medals, and I'll be like, I'm sorry I couldn't hear you over the sound of how amazing I am. Yeah, it's 4 and 4. Just can't wait to have city dwarfs mixed with sky dwarfs and high army of angry fire dwarfs. I love it. Let's see. Did you ever expand on the story from that challenge? Nope. Nope, it was a self-contained thing, and then I got back and pretty much immediately sold that army. And I just got a message today that the gentleman over in Australia who bought it is very, very pleased. 7, okay. So it made my day. That's how I got into these guys. That'd be a good rerolling one sketch. Gustav, Doug, what are your thoughts on the Total War Warhammer series on PC? I like it. I own it. I do occasionally play it. I just generally, when I want to play video games, I want to do so like on my Game Boy or on the PlayStation out in the living room, so I can like hang out with my wife out there. We can chat while I'm playing games. And so, yeah, I don't play it too much. As far as like how the game plays, I just love Total War games. I loved it. Rome Total War took up a embarrassing amount of my college years. That was a great game. I haven't played the new, like the samurai themed one. That sounds cool. Most importantly, is your plaque bigger than Jack's medal? It is, yes, and size does absolutely matter, 110%. But Doug, I want to lead more. This is illegal. No. That army's dead to me. But I will try to come up with more stuff. I mean, did people like that? So if you read the lore that I made for that army, is that something that interests you? Because I can, like, do that for these guys. I was actually toying with the idea because I'm putting so much of the progress of this army up more so than I've done for any other army. Like, I've never done the hobby progress vlogs and that kind of thing of, you know, not of like doing lore videos like I do for every other AOS thing, but specifically for like this, I don't know, set of Nurgle dudes. So I'm kind of curious how people would feel about that, because, you know, it's one of those things, like, I'm not a huge fan of fan fiction. But I'm curious as to other people would like it. Cold Soldier says, write it, make it hard to get rid of. That's a good point. Okay, I think I'll do that. And I'll just preface it with, like, hey guys, this isn't from a book. This is all in my head. And then I'll get noticed by Black Library. And then my wife can fulfill her destiny in becoming a trophy wife and just ride on all my money. Warhammer actively kind of encourages fan fiction. It does. It's mostly that has nothing to do with Warhammer stuff. That's just a carryover from other things. Like, I'm just not a huge fan of, like, Star Wars fan fiction, all that kind of stuff. You know, I was reading quite a bit of that when I was in high school, and I was just like, eh. Remember, everything GW writes starts with fan fiction. That is true. That is true. Darn near all of the named characters in 40K started as fan fiction from the staff, if you guys didn't know that. I have I think you mean old Great Unclean one, and it's a lot smaller. Is it still playable? I would definitely talk to your opponent first, because the base size does matter when it's that significant. I mean, if you're asking me, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but it really does depend on your opponent. Or you could just, if you like that model, you could just get a bigger base and make a cool little diorama around them. Be kind of fun. If you ever decided to re-release Hero Quest, would you be interested in it? I don't know what that is. I've never played Hero Quest. It's like an RPG? Because my understanding that Silver Tower, I mean, I've heard people talk about Silver Tower in the same way they talked about Hero Quest, so I was just kind of curious. See you later, Agent Jamaican. Have a good, wonderful evening or day, wherever you are in the world. Hero Quest was the precursor to Warhammer Quest. Any interest in trying Malifaux, Infinity, or other skirmish games? You know, if there was a popular enough scene or group locally, I would try just about anything. There was a big Malifaux scene here for a little bit, and it's pretty much died out. Infinity has a few players, but they meet very randomly, which doesn't really work for me. I need to have a consistent kind of thing. Makes my life so much easier. As far as, like, you know, if you're just asking generally, like, are you open to playing other stuff? Absolutely. Absolutely. And the story behind Malifaux really intrigues me, so that's one that I've considered just doing lore for because I like it. I think Hero Quest is something GW made up so they have something to talk about every Stormcast and Foxcast. Yeah, I love all those kinds of weird alternate history things. That's why I really like the game Wolfenstein. I love like the Dust Tactics looking things. That game never even really got a foothold around here. But I love all the weird history. I mean, in Malifaux is a little different because it leans more into the fantasy, but at its core, it's an alternate history of this weird rift opens up. It's so cool. The only thing that gets me about Malifaux is the same thing that towards the end got me with War Machine and Hordes, which is all of the war bands, armies, and that kind of thing. They're all named characters, and I just love having unnamed people so I can kind of make my own story. I've always loved that. It's like, I don't know. I just like the idea of creating my own little backstory, or like, okay, well, if you killed this character, what does that mean for everything else? I don't know. Barty Broadcast has amazing videos about HeroQuest. Got a copy at a garage sale. Nice. If you like math, sorry. Which is just their version of D&D. Again, I've never played a role-playing game either. Are you caught up on Realm Slayer? Nope, not even close. I haven't even started any of the Realm Slayer stuff. Right now I'm listening to Plague Garden just for my own benefit to get through it on audiobook, and then I'm going to jump into the Realm Slayer stuff. So it's going to be just a little bit. But so spoiler, not about Plague Garden. This is not really a big spoiler, so don't avert your ears. Tomorrow's video is going to be about Torglug, and I know that he shows up in Torglug or Tornus shows up in Plague Garden, so I wanted to read those kinds of parts. So 10 out of 10 recommend. Okay, yeah, it's definitely, it's so high on my list. People have been asking for it, and I was like, well, kind of waiting for like the hard copy to come out, and then it came out, and I was like, you know what? I actually kind of want to just listen to the audio one now because it would be so much faster than sitting down and reading it. For me personally, I could listen to it at work. Work has been getting crazier and crazier all the time, and so it's just not going to happen if I have to sit and read. Working later and later. Brian Blessed is cool. Yeah, I've heard he's good. He did a good job. I really loved his video about it, where when Realm Slayer came out, he was talking about the character, and he has no idea, well, what any of these Warhammer stuff is. But he was just talking about his influences as far as like character development. It was really funny. Forgive me, just blowing on this glue to get to dry. This is my last dude, and I will have completed 20 plague bearers. Ryan Blessed is a national treasure. Okay, friends. That is just about the 2-hour mark, and we've completed 20 out of the 30 we have, and the last 10 should go pretty quickly because this is coming down to a science for me. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off the stream. I won't be on tomorrow because I don't like being on when Warhammer Weekly is on. I like to watch that show as well as not compete for people's attention. So maybe you'll see me for... Oh, definitely Friday. Yeah. So we'll count that, and it'll be during the afternoon for my European viewers to tune in. So anyway, come visit me then, and I will hang out with you folks at that time. So have a wonderful day, and happy wargaming.